Hi there, I'm Simeon Robson and welcome to Just the Basics. In this first video, I'll be teaching you all about tuning and finger positioning on the bass guitar. That's both for the left hand and the right hand, so you know what you're meant to be doing while you're playing, where your fingers should be, where your hands should rest. Okay, so if you're a beginner and you're looking to get into playing the bass guitar, then this series of videos will be perfect for you. If you're a little bit more advanced, there may be some videos further on down the line that you will actually be able to get something out of. But as for this first one, this is just really basic. How to tune and where your fingers should sit. And also, okay, I'll detail a little bit about just the various parts of the bass guitar as well. So up here you have your headstock with your tuning pegs. And these are used for when you need to tune the bass if it's out of tune, which it's very rarely in tune when you first pick one up, unless you've tuned it yourself, of course. But if you were just to buy one straight out of the box, it's not going to be in tune. And so you use these just to tune up, which I'll explain how to do very shortly. And you've got the neck down here with your frets on. Each of these is a fret, which is one semitone higher than the last. Okay. These obviously are the strings. Running all the way down. You have your pickups here, and they are for when you're playing through an amp, as I am. They pick up the sound to give you the tone, and individual pickups have many different sounds to them. This is just the body, the general body. These are the volume and tone knobs, which control obviously the volume and tone. And this is the bridge here, where the strings start from to go all the way up to the neck. Okay, and this is the input where you plug into an amp. And this here is a rest for your fingers. A lot of basses don't have them. They were popular back when the bass was first invented because bass players used to rest their fingers here and play with their thumbs. But that's not a very common method anymore. Most people play with their fingers or the plectrum maybe. Or if they do play with the thumb, it'll be with the slap style, so you still would want your hand up here anyway. Okay, so that's the basic introduction to what everything is. As for how to tune it, you want, this is your E string, okay, the lowest string on the bass, it's an E. Okay, then you have the A string, which is the next one up, and then the D string. And finally you have the G string, which is the highest one. Alright, so if you need to know how to tune it, there's several different ways to do it. You can purchase guitar tuners, which usually work for bass as well. You can have the floor versions, which would be you plug in before you plug into an amp, and just when you stamp on the pedal, you then tune from that. It cuts out the sound of the bass, so that you won't. No one can just hear you tuning up, which is good. Or there is the little headstock tuners, which you just rest on here. You just clip them on usually, and then there's a bit dial on them where you just tune up, and it automatically registers which string it thinks you're playing and whether it's in tune or not. There's also inbuilt tuners like amps, like there's one in here, which I'll just quickly show you. So that you press the tuner button here, and then you play the E string, and the bass says that it's the E string here because there's the four different four different lights. So that's the E. Sorry, not the A there. That's the E. That's the A. That's the D. And that's the G. And you'll know whether it's in tune because of the lights here. Okay, so there's two green lights. So if it was too low, if I just tune it down a bit, okay, see how it goes to the orange there? That means it's too low. Okay, so you tune it back up. Got one green light, so it's getting there. There's the two. Okay, so if you go too high, it'll let you know because it'll go up to the orange on the other end. Okay, so back down to the middle. There's the two green lights there, so that's back to the E. Okay, so then the A string, exactly the same there, that's in tune. D string, that's in tune. And the G, so all strings are in tune now. So okay, so we're ready to go. Another way to tune is if you have another instrument available that you know is in tune, like for example a keyboard or a piano would be good, or another guitar, another bass. If you're certain that it's in tune, you can use the E note of that. So a key on a piano that's E. You find the right octave. It doesn't really matter, but then you would just play the note and then play your note, and if they match, then you know it's in tune. And then once you have that, if you go up 5 frets to the 5th fret here, which is the second one with the dot on it, okay? You can see that there. So then you play that 5th fret on the E. Oh, sorry, the tune is still on. Yeah, 5th fret on the E is the same as the open fret on an A. So those two should sound the same. Right? Exactly the same with the A to the D. 5th fret on the A string, open note on the D string. And they're exactly the same again from the D to the G. 5th note on the D, 5th fret on the D string, open note on the G string. Alright, so this is in tune, as we know, but that's just one of the many methods you can use to tune it. I would normally use a clip-on tuner, or if I was going to be playing at a gig, I have a floor tuner, and those are great. I would recommend one if you're going to be going out gigging, but obviously we're all just learners here, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'll just learn some of the basics first. Okay, so with regards to finger positioning or hand positioning, you want your thumb here. Probably, it depends on the style you're playing, but we'll just assume finger style. That's usually the most common, but it depends on the type of music you're playing. I'll go into more detail on the styles in a further video if you want to have a look at that one. But for now, we'll assume finger style. So you want to rest your thumb somewhere up just above the E string. Some basses do have a rest for your thumb inbuilt. So that's already there if you want to use that. This one doesn't. It has the one on the other side, which I mentioned before, which not a lot of basses do have. So I usually rest my thumb on the pickup here, and the idea behind resting your thumb is that you just want to keep your whole hand just stable and steady, because you've got somewhere just to kind of like you're grounded, and if you're not using if you're not holding your thumb down and you just have it out in the air, you're not in control as much. So you want to rest your thumb somewhere. Usually there will be a pickup sticking out if there isn't a thumb rest already. So no matter what bass you're using, there should be somewhere to rest your thumb. And then you want your fingers just to kind of sort of sit nicely over the strings so you can reach all 4 strings. As you can see, I haven't got very big hands, but they still fit over all 4 strings quite easily. So if you have your thumb rested there, and if you're playing the E string, you want to use these 2 fingers in alternation. If you're playing like a sort of, well, it doesn't really matter what pattern you're playing, but if it's a fast pattern, definitely both fingers help. So just a single note. Okay, so what I'm doing here is, when I hit the E string, my finger is just snapping back to my thumb. Okay, so it's not moving too far away, so then it's ready for the next stroke. So back to the thumb, back to the thumb, and you just alternate that pattern there. Okay, so when you're on the higher strings, so if you go to the A string, you want just to, instead of going back to your thumb, you want to just go you want to rest it on the string underneath. So if you're playing the A string and you strike the A string, you want to just stop your finger at the E string, but not making a noise from it, just deaden it. Just as soon as it hits, just stop. Okay, so you can do that. And it's the same for all of the strings. So you just move down a string and just stop your finger there, basically. So that's the basics of your right hand, or your left hand if you are left-handed. I am actually left-handed, but I learned how to play right-handed, and I find it easy enough to do, so I stuck with it. And if you are left-handed, don't feel like you have to pick up a left-handed bass, because there can be a lot harder to find out there, and it's just a lot more accessible to get on the to get to a right-handed instrument. Guitars and basses, 90% of the ones you'll find around, if one of your friends has got one or anything, it's going to be right-handed most likely. So if you want to learn right-handed, feel free, because I am left-handed, but I did learn right-handed, and I feel like there is advantages, because I feel like I have a lot of control up on the fretboard, which is good for me, and my right hand, I feel like I've learned enough control in that to be able to just play across the strings without making too many mistakes. So it's up to you what you want to do with that, but same applies for right-handed people. If they have access to a left-handed instrument and they want to learn left-handed, there's no reason they shouldn't do that if they want to. But I would suggest learning from a right-handed instrument. It's probably you're gonna come across a lot more in life. So, but that's up to you. Okay, so if we move on to the left hand, you want your thumb to be at the back of the fretboard, right? So if we turn it over, you want it back there, roughly in the middle. Some basses do have a stripe running down the middle, and if you can aim just to hit that's great. And you want it on an angle like that. Okay, so when you turn it back over, you've got access to all 4 strings very easily. As you can see, even with my small hands, they come well over the top of the fretboard here, so I can hit all 4 strings quite easily with my thumb there, and you just slide up and down the frets, which for when you're playing on the different areas of the fretboard. Okay, so if you were just to play a simple pattern, just you want to use your fingers corresponding to which frets you're playing. So your fingers can cover 4 frets, okay? So if you were going to play it, that's the 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th fret there, okay? So if you're going to play a pattern of the 3rd to the 5th, you probably want to use your index finger, then your ring finger, okay? So then if you need to use the 4th fret, you've got your middle finger there, and the 6th fret is for your little finger, okay? So if we did a pattern of 3rd fret, 5th fret, 4th fret, 6th fret, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 4th, 6th, okay? That's not really a common pattern, you'll not come across that much, but it's just to show each different finger when it's working. You want to basically use the easiest, the most accessible finger that's going to leave you with the most room to use the others. So if you were to use just your index finger all the time, you'd be moving up and down, and it's not as effective. It doesn't run as smoothly. So if you were to play that same pattern, it's just not as smooth as. Okay, so that's just a suggestion. I found it a very helpful technique. Although the thing I do struggle with is to keep my thumb down. I often find it pops up over the top when I'm playing, but I do always try to keep an eye on it and try to make sure that it does stay back behind the fretboard, because it's just a lot easier to reach all of the strings without any struggle. But I'm sure if you're keeping your eye out, you'll notice my thumb still slips over the top all the time, and that's not really anything to worry about if you're still in control. It's just the way that some people are. Obviously, I will keep trying to keep my thumb behind there, because when I do play that way, I just feel like I do have more control, but it does feel a little bit more unnatural, which is probably why it happens. So I think it's more natural for me to hold my thumb here. So I think that's probably why it always keeps coming up like that. So if your thumb keeps doing that, it's nothing to worry about. You can still play like that, but it just, as a pointer, if you try to keep your thumb back there, you will be able to have control over the strings. And if you start learning that way, then maybe it'll just come naturally to you like that anyway. So let's hope that's the case for you. Okay, so that about wraps up today. So we've learned some of the tuning, a little bit about each area of the bass, just the names of it all, and what they do, and also the finger positioning, just generally, for both hands. So I hope you've enjoyed that. and there was more videos in the series, so if you would like to check those out, feel free. If you want to continue on with this journey of learning the bass from the very beginning, then feel free. I would like that. That would be great. Thanks very much. See you later.